At the Aspen Security Council, Aspen Security Forum, in a panel dealing with maintaining America's security edge against China, someone, a brave soul, had a question about UFOs. Welcome to the soapbox. And I love this because the person who's answering this is commander of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. Let's talk about UFOs. Welcome to the soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, like this content, find yourself coming back often, please like this video, share this video, and subscribe. I do videos all the time, and so I pop in and I pop out. So definitely make sure you hit the bell to get the notifications. Also, if you really enjoy it, please support through PayPal or Patreon. YouTube is an untrustworthy actor. We have no idea which videos get demonetized. This one very well might. We'd like to say even $1 helps. Also, one last announcement. My wife and I, when she can join, do a patron appreciation show on Sundays. Those tend to go for roughly 2 hours. They start sometime after 2 p.m. They tend to be a lot of fun, and there tends to be a lot of audience engagement in those shows. So, also, people who are patrons or subscribe can, or contribute, can send questions in, and we can have shows built around those questions. In fact, the patron appreciation or contribute appreciation is essentially built around audience questions. So, there's that. Let's talk UFOs. People always ask me for UFO content, and I always kind of make the point that the only way I can do UFO content is if it's something that's I could get my hands on. It has to be legit. It can't be, we think this is real. It has to be real. Fortunately, seeing that it came out in the New York Times, Washington Post, Politico, all sorts of mainstream media that the U.S. was studying UFOs, and the guy that was doing that study came out on CNN, told Aaron Brunette, she asked, are we being visited? And he said, based on my scientific investigation, yes. Luis Elizondo, the guy who studied it. Luis Elizondo quit his job and went to work for Tom DeLonge. If anyone is interested in the WikiLeaks stuff, UFO stuff is all throughout the WikiLeaks stuff. It's just fascinating. Entirely fascinating. Several videos were released from the Pentagon. The Pentagon initially said, it's not us. We didn't do it. We didn't release those videos. And the skeptic says, aha, the Pentagon says they didn't do it. Later FOIA requests shows that these videos were pulled out legally. 3 of them. One dealing with the Nimitz, another one dealing with, I think, the Roosevelt or something. But there were multiple encounters. Now, here's the catch. It became a bombshell when we found out that the Navy changed their protocols in regards to allowing people to come in and says, yes, I saw something when I was flying this particular craft, while I was on this particular ship, and allows people to give their story. Now, I make the point that the Navy wouldn't do this if the Navy didn't have to. You had all sorts of people asking questions of like, whoa, these pilots said they're seeing things. And these are credible pilots. Some of these pilots were flying around the country during 9/11. These guys are credible. They've been with you for like 20 years. They would know if it was a weather balloon. And these guys are saying they're seeing things, that are doing things that our ship can't do, and that human beings, if they were inside those craft, would be crushed just based on the behavior of the craft itself and the capabilities of the craft. That's not conjecture. That's not me making it up. That is literally what the pilots have been saying. At the Aspen Security Institute, the commander, what is his name? Philip Davidson, commander of U.S. Indo-Pacific. One of the reporters has a question about UFOs.
Thank you.
Let's see. Maybe I've gone too far.
Population may have to leave.
Damn. Okay, wait a minute. Let's try this again. I went too far.
Question from over here.
All right, right here. All right. Again, this is about China. This guy wasn't here to talk about UFOs. Aspen Security Forum, these guys are neocons. And again, the panel is maintaining America's edge over China. And Philip Davidson, commander of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, says this.
Yes, right here.
Numerous senior pilots from the Navy have been reporting significant UFO activity.
You take questions on UFO?
First, fuck all of you for laughing. Fuck all of you for laughing. That is one of the most serious issues that you could deal with. We are a ball hurling through space. And your pilots, people who you pay to literally go out and put their lives on the line and take off in these bombing runs in these massively expensive aircrafts, are saying we are seeing things that we don't know what they are. And they're doing things that we can't do. There is military, or let's say technology, that is beyond our own. And we don't know what it is. That's what's being said. The Navy has come out saying, yes, there's something out there, we don't know what it is, and we're not going to tell you what we do know. Now, that's an untenable position. You have congressmen asking about this. You have media at this point asking about this, because you've just said and you've just confirmed all of the reports that have been coming out from the New York Times, Washington Post, Political, all of these media organizations that have been putting this stuff out. These guys aren't lying. The pilots are talking to the press. So it's not like, we have this form that we found in a document vault. And this guy said, no. U.S. military pilots are looking in camera and saying, this is what I saw while I was behind this craft for a period of time where I can analyze what I'm seeing. That wasn't just one occurrence, it was multiples. There's nothing to laugh at here. That's my point. How unimaginative an individual has to be to laugh at that. You're a ball hurling through space. I keep saying that because that's infinitely true. You are a ball hurling through space. That's a real thing. We visit our celestial neighbors, and our technology is meager at best. Kennedy went to the moon with technology to the level of like a calculator. But we're supposed to believe that nothing else is out there. God just created this little petri dish, and he just oversees this petri dish. And there's nothing else out there. It just looks like there are planets out there. It just looks like there is an evolutionary universe out there. That's all. It just looks that way. My point is, this is nothing to laugh at considering the reports that have been coming out from the various media organizations. Either those pilots are lying, which I don't think they are. Those pilots are not lying. But nevertheless, they're giggling. What does the commander think?
Admiral?
There's a report.
Notice the commander's not laughing. He's not laughing. Let's hear him out.
Reporting process for that, and an office that handles that, and
okay, he's laughing.
It was happening over a pretty finite period of time, several years ago. I'll leave it at that.
Let's go.
Why is nobody else curious about the question? That answer should have been a bombshell. What he literally just said, despite the giggling and despite the humor associated with it, well, yeah, there was a finite amount of time where, there was UFOs, where there were things flying in our airspace that we in no way could identify, and that was doing things that went beyond the capabilities of our aircraft. Now, nobody else follows up with that, like, wait a minute, what do you mean that's all you're going to say about that? Something is flying in our airspace and you don't know what it is? Do you have any additional information? How could there not be a follow-up? You can't give us any additional information from that, Commander? Like, that's a bombshell. And by the way, He just broke news. When he said that there was a process to record that stuff, in and of itself, the Navy is not going to create a process to record UFOs if it doesn't have to create a process to record UFOs. The sightings had got to such a cacophonous sound that people were asking so much about it, they were like, okay, there are too many people saying something about this. It's hitting the press, and our pilots are seeing things. We got to record the information. There can be multiple accounts of what he is talking about. So there was one encounter that occurred over several days. November 2004, the Nimitz carrier. They had odd events on radar. They scrambled jets. David Fravor engaged the object. He described it as a 40-foot-long white tic-tac. After a short time, the object darted off at incredible speed. Made it look like he was standing still. Or he could be talking about the second encounter. It was a similar case off the USS Roosevelt. A strike group that encountered odd radar readings off the coast of Florida in 2014-2015. At one point, the UFO was described as a clear ball with a cube in it, passed between two jets. Which one is he talking about? And why aren't they curious about which one is he talking about? Somebody could have said, are you talking about the Nimitz? Are you talking about what happened off the Roosevelt? Is there any additional information that the public has not necessarily, or hasn't been necessarily disclosed to the public? Sir, it sounds like you know a little bit more than you're letting on. You say you're going to leave it at that. You can agree with us that that's an extraordinarily big deal. If there are things that are flying in our airspace and we don't necessarily know what they are, you aren't curious as to what those are. And do you have any additional information that you can disclose here with us? All of us are just fellow neocons, right? Right. How unimaginative. This guy just told you. This guy, Philip Davidson, commander, U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, was asked the question about UFOs. He answered in the affirmative. Despite the giggling, he answered yes. I understand the giggling if the answer is no, but the answer was yes. That's profound. It's either us or it's not. And some of the pilots themselves have said it's possible that that's advanced technology that we ourselves are controlling, that the military itself, or is just running parallel to the military. And he says, I can't believe that though, because I would be let in on that. Meaning I would have been read in on that particular thing. Maybe, maybe not. But I put it to you this way. He is making the same point. It is either us or it's not. Both of those are profound. Why am I alone in saying this? I don't understand why I'm alone in saying this. This gentleman, who is looked upon by the United States to defend this country, has said this.
Pilots from the Navy have been reporting significant UFO activity.
You take questions on UFOs, Admiral?
There's a reporting process for that and an office that handles that. And it was happening over a pretty finite period of time several years ago. I'll leave it at that.
He just told you yes. I'll leave it. I mean, this is so profound to me. A person representing the United States military was asked the question about whether or not you guys were encountering UFOs and if you can give us any information about it. And his answer is yes. His answer is yes. Nobody follows up. Nobody follows up. He just told you we were seeing UFOs. We were encountering UFOs. He just told you. He's representing the U.S. government. And nobody has the imagination. Nobody even gets what that means in somewhat of a deep flesh and bone way of, even if it's not aliens, this notion that it could be us with advanced technology. Either way, whatever the pilots are seeing, they're experiencing something. And he wasn't saying that as a ball of light. He was talking about technology. He was talking about technology. These pilots were talking about technology. I am just, God, that sucks that nobody follows that up. He says, I'll just leave it at that. And nobody says, wait. He just said he just owned up to seeing UFOs. Which means that what those pilots were saying in the Nimitz and Roosevelt was right. He owns it. He owns it. That's profound. I'm sorry, that's profound. That's profound. That is profound. It's propaganda. See, the problem with the propaganda argument is that means that all of the pilots that came forward are lying. And that seems to be more of a conspiracy theory to me, as opposed to they're not lying. Two things. Either it's us or it's not. And by the way, it's possible that it's us. It's very possible that it's us. Assume for the moment that technology, from the standpoint of, let's say, military applications, companies and corporations, and these cutting edge technologies. Assume for the moment that you don't know all of the technologies that are on the market. And that what they may be doing, just like the Blackbird or just like the fighter, that winged fighter that these guys were working on, were 20 years ahead of what was currently out on the market and what they understood to be cutting edge technology. A breakthrough in any particular science, be it electromagnetics, being electrogravitics, can get across something that looks completely exotic, but is only a decade or so ahead of what you currently have. And is so close to what you have that if scientists were let in on it, they would understand it. What these craft are doing and what's being described by pilots, by these Navy pilots that, again, have come forward and spoke. And again, strewn all throughout the WikiLeaks, meaning this is stuff that was being talked about behind the scenes before it actually hit the press. I don't doubt, to some degree, that it could be propaganda, which is why I own up to the thing that it could be us. I don't immediately jump to the notion of aliens. I don't believe it's entirely us, but it could be us. That has to be engaged with an honest way. If that is us, though, that means something, and that means something significant. That means that there is technology and breakthroughs in technology that would allow such to take place. And it also means that there is a parallel streak of technology running parallel to our own level of advancement. That's not impossible. Even the pilots themselves had to own up to, yes, it's possible. It's possible that we have stuff that we're not necessarily showing, that we keep it to ourselves for whatever reason. So yeah, yes, it's possible. My only point, though, that I try to nail home continuously is that the pilots saw something. There are all sorts of skeptics out there, but if I'm engaging this issue honestly, then you got to give me the benefit of the doubt. Meaning, I'm not engaged in this issue of aliens are eating babies, aliens are, invading our skies or whatever. I'm being honest from the standpoint of saying there's no way for me to know. And not just no way for me to know, just sticking with what is hitting the press in a severe way. They are seeing something. All of these pilots aren't lying. And these guys are coming forward. All of these guys aren't lying. It's either us or it's not. The only way to get from that perspective is if you can put a hole in the fact that all of these pilots are coming forward. You would have to get across that these pilots are lying. And I don't have anything to substantiate that. Because understand, there's a disincentive to come forward. Now, if there's a drive to get this technology out or get information out or something to that effect, then yeah. I've made this argument that be very careful with this particular subject matter because Tom DeLonge has a lot of spooks that is pushing this stuff to the forefront. And Tom DeLonge has this notion of the bad alien theory and all this other stuff. I don't know about that. I can only go by what's at this point seems to be the prevalent bit of information. These guys are saying something. You would have to also believe that Philip is lying in the middle of all these giggles, which I don't think he is. I mean, that's a lot of people that's lying in order to make that work. That's a lot of people that's lying. So I'm not going to go with the conspiracy theory that's how all of these people are lying. I'm going to go with this notion that, yeah, they're probably saying something. The question becomes, what is it? My argument is we've been visited for a very long time. And the U.S. has been studying this stuff going back since the 40s and the 50s. So this is not necessarily something entirely new. The public itself may think this is new because a giggle factor that's been associated with for all of these years. But the UFO community, when these guys came out and said they were studying UFOs, the UFO community was like no shit, Sherlock. Do you realize when these stories hit the New York Times and Political and all this other stuff, Grant Cameron had known about this stuff like a year in advance. They were deciding how to present the stuff to the press, which means that there's a concerted effort to get this stuff out into the press. Those videos were released from the Pentagon legally. The Pentagon turned around and says, we didn't do it. The Pentagon did do it. The FOIA request shows that the Pentagon released it. They even show who they released it to. So, you can call it propaganda, but propaganda to what ends. My biggest concern is this being used as a reason for, it's like, hey, there's something invading our skies, so we need to spend $1 trillion extra on the military budget. That's what I'm concerned about. And from the standpoint of propaganda, if that's the argument you're making, then yeah, I can agree with that argument. By the way, whether it's something or not, I can agree with the argument. Multiple things can be true at once. So, I'm going to end this. I didn't want this video to go long. 21 minutes is way too long. Darren Levy. Some say ancient alien technology is in Antarctica where Tulsi was sent by the U.S. military. Also, what about 0-point energy? I mean, everybody talks about that. I mean, until I see the device, it's like, you must understand, my channel deals with politics. And the UFO issue has a certain degree of politics associated with it, especially from the standpoint of technology and how politicians would engage with something that goes so far beyond the norm. Even us, how it affects us. Like, what does it mean for us in this case? What does it mean for the planet itself? If there's this kind of, yes, you're being visited. Assume for the moment you're not being visited. What does it mean for us to have a parallel system of technology that's running with our own? Like, those are fascinating questions. I am enamored by those questions. And I seem to be the only one that's enamored by those questions. But those are questions I can ask because those are questions that have hit the mainstream media. It's a conspiracy theory at this point to go beyond this point of saying these pilots are lying. I have no reason to believe these pilots are lying, seeing as people have been seeing stuff for years. So I can make that argument. I can stand by that argument. I can substantiate that argument. I can win that argument because at the very least, I have all sorts of media reports to back that argument up. The 0-point energy thing, I have nothing to back that up. I have nothing. Yeah. So, it's like you're stuck with this situation of, is it possible? I suppose. Is it actual? I have no idea. And if I have no idea, I can't show it here. I can't show it here.